Welcome to Chapter 8.5. This is another lesson on using properties of logarithms. Just as a quick review, the properties of logarithms, basically the product property says that if you have two things that are multiplied, multiplication and addition go together. If you have two things that are divided, called the quotient property, division and subtraction go together with logarithms. And then the last property is the power property, and that says that if you have an exponent within a logarithm, you can move it to the front and it becomes a coefficient out in front of that logarithm. Now we're going to move into using those properties to solve some logarithmic equations. So when I see two logarithms added together, I'm going to remember that this addition goes with multiplications when we're dealing with logarithms. So I'm going to condense down to one logarithm. So we'll still have log base 2, but then the two things that get multiplied are the x and the 4. So this will turn into log base 2 of 4x equals 4. And then from here, I can take this logarithm and turn it into an exponential equation. So we'll start with the base 2 to the 4th power equals 4x. And then I can evaluate that because 2 to the 4th power is 16. And then I have a nice easy equation to solve, and I'll find that x equals 4. In this next example, we have subtraction, so I will condense this down to one logarithm, and the subtraction will turn into division, so it becomes 18 over x. And then from there, once I'm down to one logarithm, I can start with a base and say 3 squared equals this whole entire expression, 18 over x. And now I can solve this. 3 squared is 9. And if I can't see that x should be 2, I can just use my algebra to solve it. Times x, I get 9x equals 18, and sure enough, x equals 2. Again, I have a logarithm here with addition of 2 logs, so I'm going to condense it down to 1 log. So I have log of x plus 2 times 2, which I can write as 2 times x plus 2 if we want to clean that up. Now, this logarithm does not have a base, so I'm going to remember that when a log does not have a base, it's base 10. Okay, that's the hidden base. So I'm going to start with that and say 10 to the 1 equals the whole expression. And now I can solve. 2x plus 4 solve for x, and I get 3 for x. For this problem, we are already condensed down to one logarithm, but if I try to raise 2 to the 9th power, that's going to be an awfully big number. So instead of doing 2 to the 9th power, what I'm going to do is I see this exponent. I'm going to turn that into a coefficient. Because then what I can do is divide it away. Now I don't have quite as big of an exponent. When I start out with 2 to the 3rd power, now it's a nice small number, equals 4x. That gives me 8 equals 4x, or x equals 2. So by moving this exponent to the front, it makes it a little bit easier. That's using that power property. And the last example we'll do today, this is kind of a doozy. It's going to involve all the properties pretty much. First I'm going to see if I have multiple logs, I want to condense them down. So I'm going to move these coefficients back to being exponents. I'm going to use that power property and condense it to one log. Remember, that's the key. We want one log on each side. So this becomes log base 5 of 4 squared plus log base 5 of 9 to the 1/2 equals log base 5 of 4x. So now I'm going to simplify everything. Log base 5 of 16 plus log base 5, and now 9 to the 1/2 power. Remember, fraction exponents mean radicals. It's the square root of 9. So this is 3. And now this addition is going to turn back into multiplication. So I'll have log base 5 of 16 times 3, that's 48, equals log base 5 of 4x. Now, this one looks very complicated, but if we stop and think, we have log base 5 and log base 5. If I have two things on each side of an equal sign, those two things have to be equal. They have to be the same. So log base 5 of 48 and log base 5 of 4x means that whatever this x is, to make it true, it has to multiply with 4 to give me 48 in order to have the same number. So if I set it up like this, 48 equals 4x, I can solve for x and find that x equals 12.
Made with Doodlecast Pro.